Welcome back to The Bottom Line. I'm your host, Ryan Herpin. We're diving into the struggles of balancing parenting, partnership, and business. Joining me today is Thomas Moreno, the owner of All the Time Plumbing. Over the past year, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Thomas. He's not only a successful business owner, but also a dedicated parent and spouse. We've had countless conversations that led to me asking Thomas advice about this topic that we're on today, about finding that rhythm. Thomas, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invite.
Absolutely. So I want to dive right in. You're a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I want to pick that brain of yours for our listeners. Let's start with so many entrepreneurs struggle to be present at home because their business never stops. What was the hardest part for you when it comes to balancing family and business?
The hardest part of the balancing family and business when you run a 24-hour company like a company called All the Time, you have to make sure that you set expectations for everyone. Even though that your family understands that you run a 24-hour plumbing company, you have to realize that the customers sometimes aren't the best bet. You can't give up your family for every business. And so finding the perfect balance of finding out, is this person calling you like there for business? Is this person just trying to sell you something? Is this person just trying to chat? You start making a balance by saying, no, I'm not going to, I'll call that person tomorrow. Send them a text message as an emergency, trying to make sure that the balance of, will this will this take up the time with my family late at night? And so finding the balance is really hard for a business owner. And I think that every business owner should sit down and make a list. Make a list, find out what your balance is, and just and like set in stone. If it's set in stone, you have boundaries.
I really like that. I think you highlighted some really important aspects of being successful within business because even in business you have to have boundaries. You don't want to be, railroaded by all of your clients or customers or someone trying to make a deal with. And it should be the same way when it comes to separating or focusing on the family and not sacrificing the family for everything that is business. And that leads me to a little bit of a deeper question. Have you ever felt like you were failing in one area while succeeding in another? And how did you handle that?
Well, I felt like I was failing as a father. I run a company called All the Time. It has all the time in the name, so people expect you to answer the phone all the time. When I saw myself succeeding and getting multiple company trucks, getting multiple employees, having to deal with a lot of personal issues and business issues, I noticed myself failing as a father by, I was an avid Boy Scout person. I was a scoutmaster. I ended up dropping out of that and going to assistant scoutmaster. I used to travel to go to Girl Scout events, and then I stopped. And as slowly as my business started chipping away at my personal life, I realized that I was watching, recitals from a phone. I saw myself FaceTiming my children to, congratulate them on things. And it was me not going to campouts or special events. And I had to take a step back and say, yes, I run a company that has all the time in it. Yes, it is a 24-hour service, but I had to start depending on other people, like employees, to make sure, because everybody normally goes home and they have time with their family. And I needed to sit down and say, yes, I need these standards now. So I did see myself failing as a father, and I had to just drastically change to make sure this changed, only because, being a father and a business owner.
I love that. You highlighted something that I believe very, very deeply in, and that is having the right people around you that can help you succeed. Having team members, employees, whoever that is, that's going to help you reach that new height, manage all of it, and still be that all the time service group that can still take care of their customers, but not sacrifice all those core values. And I feel it is impossible to find that rhythm without the right team. So, what mistakes have you made early on in trying to balance all of it?
Well, I'm not talking to the business owner to neglect your business as you're becoming a new entrepreneur. I'm not telling you neglect your business. Don't become a millionaire. Don't do this. Just don't lose sight in becoming an entrepreneur and then ultimately neglecting your family. I get it in your first year, your second year of business, you do need to grind, but you always have to remember, they have this famous saying, don't forget where you came from and don't forget who you're doing it for. And so most people become an entrepreneur because they want to take care of the family better than the 9 to 5, and then they end up losing focus. The reason why they became an entrepreneur, you become an entrepreneur because you want to make your personal life better. And if you don't, then your work life will be amazing and you will be successful and everybody will love you personally. But I mean, professionally, but personally, you will end up losing the first sight, the reason why you became an entrepreneur.
Mm, I think that's powerful. It's learning from those mistakes can help others learn before they make those mistakes. That's why I'm it's such an honor to be able to have this chance with you to share this knowledge and experience you've had yourself. And that's why I keep finding myself in conversations with you about how have you done it? Because as my career goes and changes and evolves, I'd like to try to stay focused on how do I maintain this success and grow the success without sacrificing the things that are truly important to me. So, what advice would you give to business owners who feel guilty about not being present enough for their families?
I think instead of you feeling guilty for things that you have already done, I think that you need to do is make it better for the future. I think you need to draw a hard line of where family time is and where your professional life begins. I implemented in my family, which we do every Sunday. We actually have a family meeting, and everybody is present, and we go through the entire thing. After a certain time, I make sure that there's a hard line drawn. I'm not saying that the people are not important, but I draw a hard line of do I answer this person's call after a certain time? And the dynamic will change. You will see that business people that want to do business with you will make sure that your personal life goes. We're all adults. Everybody understands that you are a parent. And so you telling them that this is a hard stop, this is what I have to do to make a family, then a lot of people understand. And if they don't want to do business with you, you probably didn't do a good enough job in the first place to lose their business that fast. You do a good enough job when that hard line is drawn, people will still do business with you. It's very simple. They will know not to call you at 10:30 at night just to chat about social media posts. They will know to call you at a certain time. They will know that they have time to call you all throughout the day and you will answer their phone calls and making a not saying like I said, not saying that they're important, not important, just creating a tier list on is this a customer, is this a normal network person, is this a person I do a lot of business with that I can call back, is this a person that I've never spoken to before, they're trying to sell you something. You start making levels, and that's the thing that you need to do to balance it and make life easier as a parent and a business owner.
I have to echo that a little bit because that right there was some serious wisdom. Like if I honestly feel like I need to grab a pen and pad myself because there's something that really clicks with that, and it's when you take your priorities seriously and you prioritize your family and other people know that they know that we're parents, they know that we have families. If they see you putting forth the things that matter to you and that are important to you, how could they not respect that? How could they not appreciate that as someone they're associating with and working with? I feel like it would only build respect for me if I were to try to call Mr. Thomas for my sink deciding it wants to spray the ceiling or my toilet deciding it wants to send everything back up. I can't expect to get a hold of him directly, maybe one of his team members after a certain time because I know Thomas is a dedicated father and a dedicated husband. So I find that really powerful and something that even to this day I'm still working on myself is just making sure that I have that cutoff and trusting that my clients and the people that I want to work with will trust that and respect my boundaries. So another quick question that I find really relevant is how have you communicated this dichotomy, this rhythm with your family so that they can also understand it?
Well, the best thing to do is set expectations. I'm a big expectations person. And whenever I say expectations, my children understand that whenever the phone rings, I normally look at it and I tell them this is a phone call that I need to take. The same thing as the reciprocal on the business side. I need to be somewhere. I need to be somewhere for my children. Granted, you can word it a little bit better. I have things set. Whenever you start donating your time away from your children, then the people are going to expect it all the time. Your children won't understand. Your children will just always see you gone. And so if you set expectations and say, look, I cannot do this at this time. I cannot be there at this time. I can have somebody there that represents my company. I can be there at things, but you can't send anybody from your company to represent you as a father. You have to set the expectations, and setting expectations is very simple. My kids understand whenever I go to work, I am at work. I will answer text messages, phone calls, stuff like that. But once we get home and this after a certain time, my phone goes on a dock charger, so it's not easily taken with me on a 10-foot charger cord. But they understand that whenever a phone call comes in, if it is a not safe number, then I will have to answer it and do it. So expectations are number one all around. Like I said, I did not realize how good of a job that feel like I was doing. And one of my biggest contracts that I take care of 108 grocery stores in the Houston greater surrounding
I'm
areas.
gonna have to
She
jump in
called
right
me.
there because you're dropping so much wisdom that we're gonna have to carry this over into the next segment. This is such a powerful conversation. I love where this is going. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back on the bottom line to talk about how it's not about balance; it's about rhythm.